What is going on, guys, and welcome back to some XDEFIANT. So it has been a fat minute since the last time we made a settings video, and considering the last time I made one, I sounded like this. In today's video, I'm going to quickly go over the settings I've been using in XDEFIANT. I think it might be time to make a new one. Alright, hopping straight into it, work our way from the top down. First off, with the gameplay and UI, obviously, I'm on controller. For the field of view, I do use 110. I know a lot of people like to max it out, but for pretty much every game I use, I don't really like 120. I like somewhere between 100 and 110, mostly towards like 107 to 110. When it comes to your ADS field of view, definitely going to want to keep this on consistent. This pretty much just changes back and forth when you're aiming in how much your field of view is. Definitely don't want that. Want to stay as consistent as possible. Moving on, some of these are going to be a little bit obvious. These next two, definitely want to keep these on hold and instant. Don't want to use toggle when you're aiming in. That would be pretty crazy. For melee during ADS, I keep it off just in case of accidents. If you accidentally press the melee button while you're aiming and shooting at someone, that would be unfortunate. Next up, this one's actually pretty important. We have aiming interrupts reload. Definitely want to keep this one on. Instead of pressing YY to reload your cancel, you can just press LT a lot quicker. Personally, I still YY a whole lot, but if you can get this down, it'll definitely be helpful. Moving on, once again, these are a little bit obvious. Crouch behavior and sprint behavior. Toggle and tab. Nothing crazy with that. Next up, we have auto sprint. This is super important. Make sure you guys have auto sprint on. This will help you out a whole lot with your movement and your thumbs, and your controller, really. Auto sprint is a huge feature. In most video games, definitely want to be using this. I feel like it just helps out a whole lot. Like I said, pressing down on the controller all day, it can be tough, and honestly, being able to sprint instantly and not having to think about it, it definitely helps out with your movement. So for me, definitely have this on. Same thing with the auto sprint threshold. This one's just at 15. Not too low, but just high enough, so if you press up on your stick just a little bit, you can still walk, but high enough so instantly you can sprint. Moving on, we have sprinting interrupts reload. Definitely don't want this on, especially if you're using auto sprint. You're going to be sprinting all the time, so that would be unfortunate if you're trying to sprint and reload. Moving on, once again, most of these are default, but as we scroll down, you can see auto grab ledge. This you definitely want off. For some people, grabbing onto ledges, it is pretty crazy. It'll just mess you up in a mid-gun fight. Definitely don't want this on. Make sure that is off. Scrolling down even more, once again, most of these are all default. Nothing too crazy here. Damage numbers, I even put these off. I know some people like to have them off, but for me, I like no clutter in the screen. I like to just aim at the person and kill them, and that's it. Health bars, obviously want that on. If it's an option, might as well use it. Minimap rotation we have off, and then distance units we also have on meters. Scrolling down even more, I do have my FPS and ping display on. This is just nice to know. You can see it on the top right now. I can see I'm on 240 ping on, not 240 ping, that would be crazy. 240 frames on 33 ping, so it's nice to know just how your network's doing. If you're in a bad server, if you're lagging, if you're uploading and you're getting bad frames, it's nice to know. If you're on Xbox and PlayStation, I don't think you can get this featured, but if you're on PC, definitely use it. And then last but not least, when it comes to gameplay and UI, they had this all the way down here. I know some people like this to have this on team composition overlay. This basically is when you're in a game, it'll show you your teammates and the enemies on your screen, so you can see when your teammates are dead, when the enemies are dead, when they're alive, and some people like it. I've used it before, but honestly, unless you're taking the game super seriously, probably not necessary. Alright, moving on to keyboard and mouse. I don't use keyboard and mouse, so not right now, but if you guys do want to see a keyboard and mouse video, definitely let me know. I'll try it out. I'm not the greatest. I play Minecraft on keyboard and mouse. That's about it, guys. So if you guys want to see me play XDEFIANT, definitely let me know down in the comments. But moving on to controller, this is what I know a lot of people are looking for, but just to preface, settings, they're very personal. Everyone can have a different setting and do just fine. There's really no one best setting, you know what I mean? That's really not how it works in XDEFIANT, or really any first-person shooter in that case, so take this with a grain of salt. What I like to do here is kind of just give you guys a template to work from, explain my thoughts, and we'll go from there. So let's get into it. Alright, getting into the button layout, I use default. It actually just was on Brawler, but I'm going to be honest, I'm going to learn how to do default just because I do use paddles on the back of my controller. If you don't, I would recommend using Brawler, but for me, I jump and crouch with these two back two paddles, so it's probably going to be better if I can punch with the right stick. A lot more useful. Pressing B when you're mid-gun fight might be a little bit hard, just so you can aim and punch at the same time. I will say though, guys, make sure you're meleeing more. Melee is super unused in this game. I believe it does 70 damage, and they just buffed it even more, so it stuns now, so definitely make sure you're taking advantage. But like I said, if you don't have paddles, definitely would recommend Brawler. This just makes it so you can crouch with the right stick instead of B, so your movement is just a little bit better. Moving on, we are aim assist, obviously standard on that. Aim assist strength and follow, both on 0. I know some people like to use like -3, -2. I understand it, sometimes the aim assist can pull a little bit, especially towards the turrets now, but for me, I still like 0-0. Might as well keep it as strong as possible, let's be real, guys. Moving on to the next view, these are the actual important things when it comes to, like, looking around, your aim sensitivity, all those things. So first things first, aim response curve type. I use linear. I come from Apex Legends. In that game, linear is king. If you play Call of Duty, you're probably used to standard or even the reverse S curve, but for me, linear is the way. It makes it so when you're looking around, everything is super consistent. You're not really like speeding up, slowing down, or anything. It's a little bit different with the reverse S curve, where this one's a little bit exponential, so the longer you spin around, the faster you're going to turn. And then standard is probably what most of you are used to if you play Call of Duty, but with this, it basically just reads how hard you're pushing your stick. The lighter you push it, the slower your sensitivity is going to be. The harder you push it, the faster it's going to be. Like I said though, for me, I like everything super consistent. As you can see for the next two, we have 55-55. Consistency is king for me. So linear, 55-55, like I said. It is a little bit faster than what I'm used to in other games like Apex Legends and whatnot, but for this, it feels just right. And then obviously when we aim in, it is a little bit slower for me. I know a lot of people like to have it on the 1x, but for me, the 55-55 is a little bit too quick. I like being able to snap around, but once I aim in, I want it a little bit slower. So 0.7 is the way to go for me on the low zoom. And then the high zoom, this is for the snipers. I use this on 0.75, not too big of a difference, but definitely a little bit slower when you're aiming in. In my opinion, with the snipers, definitely need it. Moving on, we have our dead zones, and these are super personalized. What I would recommend is hopping into the range, putting them as low as possible, and then looking around. You'll see we have some stick drift with the right stick. So go back in there, put it up 1, keep testing that. Once you see no more stick drift, then you're good. But you want it as low as possible till you have no stick drift. Next up, we got the acceleration speed multiplier. For this, I use it on 0.8. I'm not really sure why. I probably should have learned it on 1 just so it's a little bit more consistent, but 0.8 is what I used. 0.8 is what I learned, so that's what I use. And then moving on to the last 3. If you have invert settings on, you're insane. Please. Michael Jordan.
Stop it. Get some help.
What he said. And then last but not least, of course, we got controller vibration. Definitely want this off for first-person shooter games. Definitely helps out. When you're aiming down, don't want your controller to be vibrating all over the place, throwing you off. That would not be ideal. Moving on, I'll go over the audio really quickly. Nothing too crazy here. Definitely want the UI and the music down a little bit. Sound effects all the way up. That's going to be footsteps, everything in-game. And then dialogue volume a little bit down because that's not going to be like in-game stuff. You're going to be hearing voice lines, but definitely want sound effects all the way up compared to everything else. And then when it comes to video and graphics, I will tell you guys right now, I'm not a computer guy. If you see anything here that's crazy and you're a computer guy, let me know in the comments politely. Please don't roast me. I'm telling you now, I'm not a computer guy. All right, I think we're good. But if I am off, I'm sorry. Take this with a grain of salt. The controller and gameplay and UI is where I shine. I'll go through this quickly though. Like I said, I can't really explain any of this to you. Triple buffering, give me a PhD if I can explain that to you. I have no idea what it does. It's off. Just we're gonna keep scrolling. If you guys need to pause, you can pause. Frame rate limit, I do know that one I keep on just because, especially when I'm streaming, I typically keep it around 180 just so not lagging too bad, keeps it very smooth. Once again, we're gonna keep scrolling. I don't know what any of this means, so like I said, if you guys want to pause, feel free. But most of this stuff's gonna be on low just so you can get as many frames as possible. Definitely not too low though. On some things, don't want them all the way down. Like on resolution scaling, if you put this all the way down, your game's gonna look like shit. 75% is good enough. And as we keep scrolling, like I said, not too much to say. This is what I got. If you guys want to try it out, feel free. Most of the settings are on low. Like I said, definitely want to get as many frames as possible. If you're on Xbox or PlayStation, obviously, this doesn't affect you. All right, last but not least though, a lot of you guys have been asking, why do I use yellow crosshairs, yellow people on the minimap, yellow name tags? For me, it's just for the red dot, just so you can see the red dot a little bit easier. On some maps, it feels like it's really hard to see the red dot. So for me, I like the yellow red dot, a little bit easier. By the way, how many times did I just say red dot? 5? 6? Who knows? All right, and I said last but not least, but we do got this one too. Definitely want to have the flashbang effect on dark just so you're not becoming a meme. You know what I'm talking about. All right, scrolling down though, I believe that's everything. Matchmaking an account, yep, nothing too crazy here. And yeah, that's pretty much everything, guys. Like I said, settings are super personal. Whatever works is what works for you. But if this gives you guys a good template, definitely try it out. The linear response curve is probably the most important thing. I know most of you guys are probably using the standard, but for me, I like the linear. If you come from Apex Legends, you probably use linear too, just like me. But I know a lot of people play this game. They play Call of Duty. Try out the linear. Let me know what you think. And other than that, thank y'all for watching. I will be back tomorrow with another video. And I'll see you guys then. Peace.